Hello and welcome. Another edition of the Coach's Corner, where each and every Thursday, myself and now Coach Serrano will soon be joining us in the weeks ahead to talk with college coaches from across the country, all levels, all divisions, helping educate and better inform parents as well as student athletes. And this week, I'm really happy because we're in season and we're going to be able to talk with someone that I have some knowledge of that competed with and against my son Tyler, both at the amateur level as well as the SEC level. Coach Karsten Winston at Florida International FIU, Florida International University in South Florida. Coach, thank you very much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
I'm really excited because, Carson, I think this is where I would like to begin. I would like for you to discuss your experiences with regard to becoming a coach. Obviously, you were an outstanding former first round draft pick, SEC pitcher in Florida, two-time Omaha representative at the University of Florida. So you know what it's like as a player. But when you made that transition from player to coach, what was that like for you during that time in your career?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you hear coaches talk a lot about, this profession being a lot about relationships, right? So I think for me as a player, outside of my dad, there was a lot of, coaches in my life that really had a big impact on me, kind of all the way through, even at the amateur level, high school. And obviously collegiately and professionally, a lot of coaches along the way kind of helped, form me obviously into the player that I am today. And then obviously into the man I am for sure. So I think when I kind of got on the back end of my career a little bit, really wanted to think about what I wanted to do next. And I mean, coaching was pretty obvious for me. I'm a son of a coach and a teacher. So maybe it was a little bit in my DNA, to kind of be in this position, but definitely have enjoyed the time developing young men, building those relationships, and then being able to compete at the same time.
Well, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about FIU. I mean, a lot of parents, they know you're in the greater Miami area, so you're dealing with the University of Miami, who you play out of conference. Florida is a very fruitful, there's a lot of Division I schools, very active baseball hotbed. But talk about FIU and what makes it special and attractive to prospective student athletes, in your opinion.
For sure. Well, obviously location, right? I mean, it's it's sunny and 75 pretty much year round down here. So the weather is outstanding. Location is great. You touched on it a little bit. I think what people don't realize how beautiful campus is for us. We're actually, we're about 15, 18 miles west of actually downtown Miami. So we're right off the interstate. We're not in the heart of Miami. Campus has a very traditional feel to it. Our football stadium is on campus. Our student athletes really get to enjoy a traditional college experience here, and campus is absolutely beautiful. So, for any student athlete that kind of, wants to get that experience, and obviously Florida draws, the state itself draws a lot of players, maybe from some colder weather states and different areas across the country. For us, that's one thing that we've really tried to do is kind of open this thing up. Obviously, in our backyard, there's a lot of really great players. I could probably throw a rock and hit, 5 or 6 of the best high schools in the country down here. So we're very fortunate for that. But, we also want to open this thing up a little bit to kids maybe from the Northeast, from the Midwest. And we've actually had some success doing that, and really excited, what we're doing down here with our head coach, Rich Whitten.
What I would love for you to kind of maybe touch upon is, as a staff, where does the high school athlete fall with regard to your recruiting, recognizing, that you're just getting your feet planted at FIU, but where does the high school athlete stand in regard to your recruiting processes?
Yeah, I mean, I think, when you talk about culture, I think it starts with guys in your program that have been there for 2, 3, 4 years, So obviously with the transfer portal and guys that are transferring in, it could make it hard at times. For us, the high school player is a guy that we want to build our program around, in that 3 to 4 year window. So it's definitely a building block for us, and I think, our league specifically, Conference USA, traditionally year to year, it is, an older league. All the teams in our league, we'll add guys, junior college, transfer portal guys, 4 year guys. So there is that aspect of it for sure, which makes our high school guys even more important because, we really want to identify guys that can come in and help right away, but then also, long term, that 2 to 4 year window, we want there to be some projection as well. So, it's just something that we're working through right now as we kind of sit down and talk about our recruiting philosophy. But, our high school guys are extremely important, in terms of culture.
One of the things that I really am excited about having the opportunity to speak with you about is there's some similarities, and I'm speaking more now as a dad, between my son Tyler and yourself. And I'm not talking about the draft necessarily. What I would like you to touch upon for both parents and student athletes really is the fall of 2009, spring of 2010 version of Karsten. What's the one thing that you try to encourage your incoming student athletes, whether they be transfers or freshmen? What do they really need to be prepared for, both mentally and physically, for the collegiate level of baseball?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously outside of skill set, right, that kind of gets you into the door. I think number one, you have to be able, you have to be willing to compete at a high level. There's no secret about, the roster sizes here at our level. And, we're going to use, every roster, limit that we can because, everybody else is doing it in the country and we want to be as competitive as we can be. So, you have to be willing to compete, that needs to be part of your DNA. And you have to accept the fact that, hey, there may be 2 or 3 guys at your position that we recruit you at, but that's just how it is, and it doesn't mean that, you may not be a good player at some point for us. It might not be your freshman year. That's okay. There's nothing wrong. There's so many great players that have hung around programs for a couple of years and developed at their own pace. And then by their junior, senior year, they've become all-conference players. So I think, having a little bit of patience, kind of comes with the territory as well. But being just really confident in your ability, knowing who you are as a player and understanding whether you're a high school kid or you're a transfer, you are going to have to compete for everything. And, whatever our players earn, it's what they get in the weight room, on the field, in the classroom. They definitely earn it through competing with each other.
As a coach, how do you encourage your pitching staff? Your pitching staff at South Florida, very highly regarded, obviously, as a former SEC and minor league pitcher. You understand the difference between throwing strikes and throwing quality strikes. And there's always a time where, on television, you have parents and fans that get frustrated, but the margin of error is so slim. And can you discuss how you get your student athletes prepared to compete with quality strikes as opposed to just throwing strikes?
For sure. Well, we obviously start with throwing strikes. That's kind of the foundation of what we do as a pitching staff. It's what we look for in recruiting. That ability, you need to kind of possess when you walk, in the door. And so from there, we want to obviously develop, each pitcher differently in terms of what they do well. So, we try to identify hopefully a pitch or two. Maybe there are some outliers, some things that these guys do well, and we really want to harp on throwing your best pitch, most often. So, for a lot of guys, it could be their fastball, could be the changeup, the breaking ball, and really just want guys. We really take the fall to really develop and understand who we are as a pitcher. Because when we get into the spring, we're going to go and attack that, first weekend. So it's not to say that we won't develop pitches along the way, but the fall is a really good time to try some things, have some failure. You do have to kind of be open a little bit to that as a player because you are competing for a job at the same time. So there's kind of a way to do that with our guys. But at the end of the day, man, I just want our guys to know who they are at the end of the day. When they're going well, what is it that makes them successful? And it's something that we continue to monitor throughout the season. We have a lot of different programs and technology that we use, whether it's TrackMan, True Media, Synergy. I'm always checking out. I'm always doing internal scouting reports on our pitchers to make sure that we are throwing the best pitches most often, to hopefully set our guys up for success.
And on that note, I assume it takes place in the fall, but how do you get pitchers to understand through pitch shaping or pitch sequencing what is really their strengths? On the surface, it may be the fastball, but in reality, it may be a changeup thrown more often as opposed to throwing more fastballs. When do you begin to have that dialogue? Is it really in the fall, or do you do any of that in-season adjusting as well?
Sure, definitely both, right? So I think the age of the player kind of dictates when that conversation happens as well. For us with our freshmen, we really want to make sure that there is the fundamentals of pitching. There's some things that are still tried and true in the delivery, some things that we want to do, maybe without even throwing a baseball, the running game, pre-throw, post-throw, all those things. We really kind of start from zero with our freshmen and really make sure that we build these guys up to where, we're not just skipping straight to pitch design, because that's the sexiest thing that all these guys want to do is
Right.
talk about spin rate and their shapes. And it's like, hey, that's great, but we got to do these things first before we can even get there, because the things that we can control, I want to make sure that we do a really good job at as a pitching staff. Once we do that, then it does get fun to have those conversations with certain guys. Typically, our juniors, seniors, guys that have been in the program, they know the expectations of the things that we can control. We will start to have those conversations for sure, dive into more of the analytics. And, we're always checking our guys internally on making sure, hey, we know this guy has a good fastball. Let's just make sure it's playing the way that we think it should. We can look at, OPS against, batting average against on all of our pitches. And so, too, I think it does create some buy-in as well, because you may recruit a kid that has fastball, slider, those are his two best pitches. And you tell him in the fall, hey, man, I think your changeup has a really good chance to be your best pitch. And you throw it a lot in the fall to develop it, and they may not quite believe you. Show them the numbers. Hey, here's the numbers against our own hitters, man. It is performing extremely well in zone. So I think that gives kids confidence and also gives them a little buy-in when you're trying to get that out of them.
So I want to kind of utilize that, because I deal with a lot of parents, and we start to talk about this time of year breaking video down to send out to college coaches. So I would love for you to kind of explain the importance of not only the open side video, or if I'm a right-hander, video from the third base side, but also video from behind the pitcher as opposed to behind the catcher. You can see behind the pitcher better, the movement, the spin, the late break, the shape, etc. Can you just kind of talk about the video that you would love to be able to see when a student athlete is sending you an email?
Yeah, absolutely. I think open side is great. From a mechanic standpoint, there's some things that I like to kind of some check marks that I like to look at there. From behind is great. I like to see shape of pitches. It's definitely a good starting point. Especially we talked about, in the beginning here, kind of recruit nationally a little bit. So for us, video is extremely important. There's kids that do a great job with three different angles behind the mound, behind the catcher, open side. That's a great starting point to generating interest, because, each coach has different things that he's looking for sure. But, as many angles as you can provide is awesome. And I think, at least at the beginning, it provides us a starting point to where now I can go, hey, there's enough information and data and video here on the front end where now I can follow up with, maybe reaching out to a coach, reaching out to a player. But that's definitely a great start. I know kids include links like YouTube video links in their emails. I mean, it's gotten really good. Kids are really doing a good job of kind of taking control of their recruiting process on their own and really being proactive. And I get emails all the time, from kids, and I really try to do a good job to respond to just about every one of them, just because I know kids take time to send that out. And, I'd like to, give at least some honest feedback on kind of where we're at in the recruiting process, because I know that's going to help that kid kind of find hopefully his home, sooner than later.
Now, on that note, when you're beginning to get to know a student athlete, where is the interaction with regard to the high school coach? We're seeing this, tsunami of school's not a big deal. It's the summer that coaches worry about. But in reality, you have to have a care factor for your program, your city, your community, because that carries into college. I know this was something that was big for you and the area that you grew up with, and your dad was a coach. Can you kind of speak to that a little bit about the significance of playing within a meaningful organization and getting feedback from that coaching staff?
Yeah, I think it's very important. Obviously in today's game, it's with the transfer portal, the recruiting process, has changed a little bit. I think, you're still optimistic when you recruit kids that they want to be a part of a good culture. They want to be a part of a community. They want to associate themselves with a university that they can be proud of, one day, hopefully when they graduate. And I think there have been things with, NIL and different things where kids are, I don't know if, there are other opportunities that present themselves, right? That maybe we lose sight of that at times. So I think when we're recruiting a player, and specifically a high school player, the high school coach plays an important role. Obviously, he's around that player year round, fall, spring. They really do have the best kind of grasp and idea of who that guy is on a day-to-day basis. Because for us, practice is important too. We practice more than we play.
Right.
So we're that's important. How you show up every day, how you go about your work, can really give a good indicator on the success you're going to have in your season. And a lot of times when kids go off and they kind of jump around, they play different travel ball teams. Those coaches only see that kid for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But what are they doing Monday through Thursday?
Right.
So I think for us, the high school coach's input is extremely important because it kind of gives you a more in-depth look at who this player is, maybe when the lights aren't on, when no one's watching. And I think that's extremely valuable information when you're recruiting players today.
And one of the other really the reasons why I was so excited about having this opportunity to speak with you now, again, reiterating, the kind of common ground that you and my son Tyler shared. I would love for I've talked to Tyler about the weight of expectation on a high school student entering into college and the value of becoming a part of that academic institution, not only athletically, but with regard to becoming an alum, or, when you get older, and the value not only of the degree, but of the experience as a whole. I'm wondering for you, if you could share with parents and student athletes the amazing experience of the University of Florida, Omaha, and now as a coach, what it means to you to potentially try and get an FIU program to Omaha and why it's so valuable as an experience.
Absolutely. I think that was a big part of my recruiting process. Obviously, both my parents graduated from the University of Florida. So growing up, a huge Gator fan as a kid, that was a dream come true for me, but it was very genuine. It was dream come true. And, having the experience that I had was unbelievable and wouldn't trade it for anything. Right. So now being on this side of it, recruiting kids to want that same experience, specifically to FIU, in our large alum base. I mean, any kid that we talk to here locally, they've had an aunt and uncle, maybe it was their parents, their sister. I mean, somebody in that family, you can guarantee it, went to FIU. So FIU is huge in our community down here, in the Miami area, Miami-Dade County, Broward. So we definitely run into that all the time and think that that's even special, more special for kids that want to stay home and really play for the university that really is kind of the community's university down here. Obviously being a public institution, and the enrollment is growing every year, and so we definitely play into that. And I think when you do have kids locally that stay that want to be a part of it, it really does mean a lot more when you do have that success, right? Because number one, your family is close by; they get to come see you play every day. They get to be a part of the journey as well. Rightfully so, because if they've gotten you to that point, I'm sure there were some financial, commitments that they kind of put forward to get you to that point. But I think it's cool when you can, tie it all in a perfect world, stay locally, play for the hometown team, and, really win at a high level. I think it kind of ties everything into the experience, and you really look back on it. For me, it was really just bigger than myself, right? It was more about the university and really about the guys in that locker room. So that was probably the thing that I was proud of most is when we traveled, when we played, you knew that you were representing something bigger than yourself.
Final question. We're in season, and you're touching upon the recruiting dynamic as far as you really want to broaden and open up the regions of the country. Someone wants to email, and we're going to have Coach Winston's email address and the contact information, both social media as well as email, in the comment section below and the description below, both on the podcast as well as the YouTube video. But what type of video, what type of content do you want in there? You want a quick, short video, transcript? What is it that you want to see from a potential recruit for FIU?
Yeah, absolutely. First name, last name, grad year, where you're from, GPA, and then obviously, highlight, a position or two that you play. Listen, I know I'm the pitching coach here, but any email that I get of a position player, I forward to our recruiting coordinator, Brian Geralman, and he kind of does the same for me. So we work as a team, when it comes to recruiting, but for any pitchers out there, man, obviously, we've got, the open side video is great. really anything that you can do, because I know kids have different access to different resources, even if it's just, hey, coach, here's my stats. I know the state of Florida does a really good job on Max Preps, and there's a secondary website where, they pretty much upload those stats at the end of each week. So, we do a good job kind of filtering through that and checking up on kids who maybe have emailed us prior, and we just follow along. It might not seem like a lot, even if it's just a quick, hey, thanks for the information. Look forward to seeing you maybe at a camp or seeing you down the road. We find ourselves checking in on a lot of these kids that reach out just because, hey, anybody that has interest in wanting to be a part of our program deserves to kind of be followed and tracked. So, we're very happy to take those emails and, like I said, anything that you can add. Video, data is important, right? It's kind of a good starting point. So, we'll take it all and then kind of go from there.
What about camps? Any camps that are in particular that you would like to see prospective student athletes attend over another, whether it be fall or summer?
Yeah. I think, we're going to try to provide opportunities throughout the year, right? Obviously summer is really busy. Guys are playing travel ball, but there's also kids that might find themselves on a weekend where, their arm's in shape, their bat's in shape, they're ready to go. And maybe it's a tournament, that they're not playing in. So, we'll try to provide different opportunities throughout the summer. August, October, December, those are really big times too, kind of after the summer circuit. There's really some cool opportunities to pick, a few schools. Maybe it's not just FIU, pick schools that you really think that you could be a fit at and go to their camps, go straight to the source, go get in front of these coaches, and you will get honest feedback on, hopefully honest feedback, from us 100% on kind of what we're looking for. And you'll learn a lot about the school as well. So, hopefully, we'll see guys throughout the year pop in and anybody that has interest in FIU, camps are the way to go, to kind of go straight to the source and kind of see how you stack up and, in terms of us and where we're at in the recruiting process.
And I want to just slip this in, and maybe you can hammer this home. If I'm a student athlete and I am attending your camp and I am past my, let's just say I'm August 1st, I'm a 2026, and when I visit your camp, have I not earned the right to say to you, Coach, am I the quality or caliber of a student athlete that you would consider recruiting? So many student athletes leave a camp wondering, did I catch the coach's attention? Do I contact them? Do you agree that a prospective college student athlete, especially if they're a sophomore, rising junior, has the opportunity to come to you and say, hey, Coach, do you think I'm the caliber of student athlete that is someone that you would recruit?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think every kid should ask that question, and two, for our camps, as well as other camps that, that I know of, you can sign up for an eval as well. It goes a little more in depth on just coming, showing up, hitting BP, talking to the coaches, sign up for our eval, because, we do take some great notes on campers and hopefully future Panthers, we want to take notes on these kids. And if somebody signs up for an eval, we're really going to break the different parts of your game down and really kind of tell you where you are at right now and where you project. And two, one thing that happens a lot too is, maybe a kid comes to camp that I feel like would be a great fit at a junior college for a couple of years. I can't tell you how many times, we make phone calls out of our camps to help kids get to college baseball. I think that's the enjoyment as well. It might not be for FIU, man, but if I can make a phone call and get a kid somewhere for 2 years, hey, it allows that kid to continue playing. And two, it's just somebody that you can follow. You already have that relationship at a camp. Maybe you just, pass along a phone number to a kid in the family, says, hey, I think this might be a good fit for you. I think that happens a lot more than you realize, because at the end of the day, I think us coaches, we really want to see these kids have that great experience. And it's not just at the Division I level. All across throughout college baseball, there's a lot of great experiences out there to be had. And, sometimes kids have to work a little extra to get there, but, maybe it makes it all worthwhile too. So, but we're always willing to help kids in that way for sure.
Well, Karsten, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time in season. Go Panthers. I'm so glad that you're at FIU. I think it's a great fit. It's going to allow you to really show and demonstrate not only to your current student athletes, but future college student athletes, who you are and what you're capable of doing, not only from a pitching staff perspective, but as a baseball player. So, Karsten, the best of luck to you and FIU this season and beyond. And thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. And, maybe you'll see the Panthers in Omaha soon.
I do not doubt that. I do not doubt that. I, for one, having had the opportunity to watch you as an athlete and recently as a coach, I have no doubt that you will get this program. You and Coach Jerome will get this staff into an Omaha situation sooner rather than later. So, Karsten, best of luck going forward.
Thanks, Walter. Appreciate you.